This is my little YouTube channel called the Knotty Giraffe, where I talk about my knitting and other fiber arts products that I'm working with. This is episode 18, I believe, and I'm coming to you today from Kelowna, British Columbia in Canada, where I live with my dog Gallagher. And yeah, I've got quite a few finished objects to talk to you about today. And first, I really want to say a huge thank you to the knitting community. In my last episode, I was in the middle of working on this top here, and it's called the Olive Tank. It's a Sari Norlund design. And I was thinking of frogging it, and because it had a mistake in it, and I wasn't too sure about the fiber and stuff. And somebody reached out and said, "You're so close, why don't you just finish it?" And I did, and I would have frogged it otherwise, and I actually really love it. So first off, yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you of how supportive this community is. I'm truly, truly, truly grateful. So as mentioned, it is a pattern by Sari Norlund. I knit it in a merino silk blend that was a fingering weight that I picked up when I was traveling in Newfoundland, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I think it turned out just spectacular. I knit it on, I believe it was 4mm needles that I had to use to get gauge. And the top comes with two options for either the high back or the low back. And I went for the high back, which, oh yes, you can see my lovely bra strap there. But it's, yeah, I had some trouble with the pattern. I really did struggle with the pattern. I think maybe it's just my age that I'm having trouble following patterns these days, unless they're really clearly spelled out. And with all the different instructions for the higher back and the lower back, somehow I don't know, I ripped it out several times trying to get it right. But yeah, there's a lot of, it's a top-down knit, but you know, you start with one sleeve and then you knit the other sleeve and then you join them and you knit down and then you start with the next sleeve and then the back and then you knit down and eventually you join it, but you end up with, like, I don't know, I can't even remember how many ends there were to weave in, but there was a lot of ends to weave in at the end. Yeah, and then when I finished it, I guess it was probably because of the silk. It just seemed kind of stiff, and I mean, that's why I almost didn't finish it, because I wasn't sure that I was going to like how it felt. It felt kind of bulky and stiff, and yeah, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to wear this. But I took the community's advice and I finished it, and then I soaked it in a wool wash, the one that I always use. And when I pulled it out after it dried, it was like, this is so soft. I can't believe it. It's like a completely different material, and I've been able to wear it this summer. It's not that hot. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, this is the Olive Tank by Sari Norlund, in knit with 2 strands of fingering held together. And yeah, I pretty much followed the pattern. Well, the parts that I that I followed right anyway, and then when I didn't follow the pattern, I ripped it out so that it went back to the pattern. But yeah, anyway, this is finished object number 1. So finished object number 2 is probably the thing I'm most excited about that I have knit in a long time, and it's the Nordic Bloom vest by, oh my gosh, Caitlin Hunter. And I absolutely love this. I am ecstatic. I actually, hold on a sec, I'll put it on. So yeah, this is the Nordic Bloom vest by Caitlin Hunter. I actually set out to knit the cardigan, but by the time I finished the vest, I started looking at it and I thought, nope, I'm keeping it as a vest. Let me just stand up so you can see it a little better. It's just, oh, it is so beautiful. Honestly, I can't remember knitting anything that I loved this much in a long time. And it was such a fast and easy knit. It was just, the instructions were clear and I knit it. I had to go up a needle size from the recommended because I used the Cascade 220, the worsted weight yarn, and I'll put the exact what it was I used there, but I did not go for the superwash. I went for just the regular worsted weight. And yeah, my gauge was just a little bit off, so I went up a needle size and then knit a size one size smaller than what I would have knit otherwise. Also, I was worried if I had bought enough yarn, thinking that I was going to knit the full sweater. I wanted to make sure I had enough, and I don't know why I thought. I'm not sure actually whether it would make a difference or not, knitting on larger needles with larger needles with or smaller needles having more stitches. I'm presuming that would use more yarn. That's what I was thinking. That was the logic behind it anyway. I thought that if I used the bigger needles and did the smaller size, that it would use less yarn. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not good enough at math to figure that one out. But honestly, this is just the most delightful pattern that there is. It's knit in the round and with a steek down the middle. I had watched, I believe it was Espace Tricot from Montreal. One of the women there had knit hers, and she didn't steek hers. She just put left the steek in, and actually that's what I did too. I just left the steek in, and I thought that way there's no risk of it pulling at all. Not that I mean I have positive ease in it, but this way there's no risk at all of the buttons coming undone or whatever. I did do the bottom button is actually a button that opens, but the other ones I didn't even put the buttonholes in for. I just did it as is and then sewed the buttons over top. And yeah, I think it turned out really nice. It's knit from the bottom up, and yeah, like I said, it just literally flew off the needles. It was so much fun to knit because the pattern is the chart's easy to follow, and yeah, with the big needles and the thick yarn, it just whizzes by. I cannot recommend this pattern enough. It's not only beautiful, but it's fun to knit and quick. Yeah, what more could you ask for? Actually, it's kind of funny because the project that I'm working on right now is the absolute complete opposite of this one. But I'll get to that when I get to my works in progress. Because yeah, I've got one I've just cast on using fingering weight yarn and very small needles. So, but I'll get to that. I've got a couple more finished objects to show you first. So finished object number 3 is the Ranunculus I was working on. It's made with the Sadar Cashmere Silk yarn. I'll put all the colorway and all that information down below here. I knit on 6mm needles. It was, yeah, I cast on with 5mm needles to make the neckline a little bit smaller, and I believe I knit the size 1 in this because I wanted it form-fitting. I thought it would be a good sweater for skiing to wear under my ski jacket in the winter. So it's, yeah, I think everybody kind of knows the Ranunculus pattern by now by Midori Hirosi. This is my 3rd Ranunculus, so the other 2 I made were summer tops. And yeah, this one is, I was not too thrilled with the yarn because I don't know if I will see if I can get it close. It's sort of, it's kind of like, it's already kind of pilling, and I haven't worn it yet, other than I think I've worn it once. It started pilling as I was knitting it, so I'm really not a fan of the Sidar Cashmere Silk blend at all for that reason. It looks kind of messy actually, but it is probably one of the softest yarns I've ever knit with, and the result is it's just absolutely feels lovely against your skin. So I guess that's the trade-off, is the softness gives you pilling. So what can you do? But if for some very strange reason you haven't heard of the Ranunculus or have not knit one yourself, it too is a really fun pattern. It's a little complicated in places, but there are so many YouTube videos out there with like instructions that make it so clear and easy to follow that, yeah, it's really a nice sweater to knit. It's a top down, and yeah, and because it's on the 6mm needles, it knit up very quickly too. So yeah, so that's finished object number, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Just one more to go, I think. Hold on. So finished object number 1, 2, 3, 4 are a pair of socks. I did the Hermione Everyday Sock pattern, which I absolutely love the details in this. It's a simple free pattern that you can get online on Ravelry, where basically you just knit around doing knit 1, purl 3, knit 1, purl 3, then you do a knit round, and then the next round you knit 2, purl 1, knit 1, or knit 3. Anyway, it makes it so it staggers the purl bump every second row, and it's great when you're using a color changing yarn like this, because it helps to break up the color lines. You can see where I did I just did regular stocking knit stitch on the foot versus the Hermione. The way it breaks the lines up makes them more interesting. And then for the heel and toe, I put in some purple that I just happened to have. And the way I got the pattern here was by alternating rows between the purple and the Manos del Araguay sock yarn. So that when you slip the stitch in the slip stitch heel, sorry, I should have said earlier that I knit them from top down and with a slip stitch heel. And by alternating whether I slip the first stitch or the second stitch in rows, it makes it so that you get this really cool pattern. And yeah, I like doing that. It's something I started doing when I did the Stephen West knit along mystery sock thing that he put on a couple of years ago, and I couldn't do the brioche heel that he was suggesting. I found it too thick, and so I just sort of came up with my own idea of doing it like this, and I've been doing heels like that ever since because I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, so yeah, I knit on 2.25mm needles, magic loop. That's how I do all my socks. And yeah, it's they're pretty cozy and pretty cool. So I believe that's it for finished objects. And I have a couple of works in progress that I'll share now with you, okay? Hold on, let me get them. Okay, so the first work in progress I have is a pair of mittens that I'm making. I've got the first mitt half made. I wanted a pair of mittens that I could put as a liner, so I wanted them really form-fitting, and I made these on 2.25mm needles using a fingering weight yarn. It's by Color Adventure, the So Squishy Sock Yarn, I think it's called, in the color Mariachi. And I got the first one, well, mostly finished, just a thumb to go. But I started in on the second one, and I've got the cuff done, but then I had a change of heart. I love the way the rainbow works in this yarn so much that I've decided that I really want to use it for work in progress number 2, for the little dolls in the paper doll sweater, which I have just cast on. It's a design by Bev McDonald that has been on my list of things to knit for a long time, but I keep getting sort of scared away from it because it's a fingering weight sweater knit on very thin needles, and I knew that it, you know, would take a gazillion years to probably knit up. But you know what? I've decided to do it. So I have just cast it on. Here, I'll show you just a sec. So this is as far as I've got. I've got the first, five rows done, I guess, and I'm just starting into the dual colored ribbing. It's a knit from bottom up again, which I've always shied away from bottom up patterns too. I like doing the top down because then you know how long to make it. But I seem to do okay with the Nordic Bloom doing the bottom up, so I'm taking that as my green light that I can do this one too. Oh, I forgot to add too, when I knit the Nordic Bloom, I did add 2 extra rows at the bottom of it before I started into the color work to give it a little bit more length. But on the other hand, I also made the ribbing a little bit shorter than it was supposed to be, so it probably worked out to the same, so if that matters at all. But for this, I am knitting this with, let me get it. So I am knitting this with, my main color is going to be this, the Zip Knits, in the color of Lavender Dreams. And then the red accent, I'm just doing for the bottom and the neckline, and I'll put that in the little speckles. The red is the Lamana Merida, it's called. And yeah, so I'm gonna do that. And then for all the little paper dolls that are linked arms, I'm going to do that in the mariachi. So I'm so excited about this sweater. It's yeah, like I said, it's been on my dream knit list for a long time, so it's nice to finally have it underway. And yeah, it'll probably be a while before I film again, just because I'll want to show updates on that. Okay, so my third work in progress is a pair of fingerless mitts that I'm making. My local yarn shop had their annual inventory sale that they have each year, where everything's 20% off for a week. So I picked up this Opal 6 yarn. It's for, I think it's meant for doing DK weight socks. But it makes for really nice fingerless mitts because, yeah, they knit up really quick. I just designed this pattern on my own. I cast on with 2.75 millimeter needles. I put on, I think, 44 stitches. I did 15 rounds for the cuff, and then 10 rounds before I started the increases for the thumbs. And the thumbs, I just did like make one. I knit the first stitch, I knit on a magic loop. I had knit one stitch and then did a make one right, knit all the way around till the second to last stitch, did a make one left, knit the last stitch, and that was my increase row, and I just increased every second row till I was up to 30 stitches on each side, so from 44 to 60 stitches. And then did a couple more rounds and then added another one, so I was up to 64, and took off, can't remember what I took off for the thumb. I think it was, I took off 16 stitches for the thumb, and then knit the rest of the hand with 48 stitches, and just did I think 5 rows of ribbing, of 1 by 1 ribbing at the end with an Italian sewn bind off. Actually, I used an Italian bind off for everything. I used an Italian bind off for this, and for this, for my Audrey top, and yeah, and oh, that was one other, I am sorry, ADHD, I can never keep track of everything. But for my Nordic Bloom, there was one other detail that I did that was different too from the original pattern, and that is that I did a 3 needle bind off on the shoulders to put them together. The pattern called for a Kitchener stitch, but I wanted to make sure that it was, I wasn't sure how much it was going to weigh or whatever, and I really liked the look of the 3 needle bind off. I thought that it gave it, like, I like having the seam there. I don't know. It's just me, weird, but I thought it was kind of cool. So yeah, so that's it for works in progress, I believe. Oh yeah, I think I said I cast on with 2.75, and I'm knitting these on 3.25 millimeter needles. And I will have all the details for these on my Ravelry page. If you you know, if you want to copy my pattern, you're more than welcome to. It's they fit really nice, and yeah, the Opal 6 is a great yarn for these. It's just because it's got cool pattern. Oh yeah, also I forgot to mention, I put in some short rows. I put in 2 short rows. I do that in all my fingerless mitts, and I did it in my mittens as well, whenever I make them, because I find otherwise that because your pinky is you know, way down here, you need to have it more on a diagonal. Otherwise, if you do it straight across, then, you know, this finger is completely exposed, and I like to have my hands, I mean, you wear them for warmth, really. It's not just for show. So yeah, so you can sort of see here where I've added the short rows, like in this row here, I added one, and oh, what was the, oh, maybe I added them both in there. I don't remember. Yeah, I added them both in there in that section. But it's yeah, it makes it so it's a little higher up on the knuckle on this. So yeah, anyway, that's it for knitting. I did do some spinning, and I will show you that in a minute, and then I'll do a quick reading update. If you are not interested in spinning or reading, then see you next time. And if you are, then hold on a sec and let me grab it. Okay, spinning's going to be pretty brief because I think it's West. You know what? I will put the name of the fiber right down here. But yeah, I spun up 100 grams of this stuff. That yeah, I'm really excited about this. It turned out just gorgeous. It's yeah, that's the 2 different skeins. But it's worked out to be like, I think, like a DK weight. So I have some green that I'm gonna spin up to go with it, and then I'm hoping to maybe make a shift, one of the Andrea Mowry's. I think I might make another one of her shifts out of this, because it's pretty soft and squishy, and yeah, I think it'll make a nice, might even go nice with my Nordic Bloom. So yeah, so spinning very quick, bing, done. On to reading. Okay, on to reading. Yeah, as always, I've read quite a bit. It's been a month since I recorded last, and so yeah, I can't remember how many books I've read, but I'll give them a quick rundown here, and just if there's any that I really highly recommend, I'll tell you what they were. So the first one I read was Fugitive Pieces by Anne Michaels. I absolutely loved her poetic language. Excuse me looking down. I'm just looking at my Goodreads so that I can follow it. And if you want to follow me on Goodreads, you can. I will put all the information down below in the description box of how you can find me on, Ravelry and Instagram and on Goodreads. So yeah, Fugitive Pieces. I just, it's not the kind of book for somebody that loves a really fast-paced story. It's just she uses this beautiful, descriptive, poetic language, and yeah. Sometimes I found myself having to go back over and over certain lines just to because they were just so beautifully written that I loved it. Anyhow, the next one was Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson. I've read her short stories before. This was the first time that I had read one of her novels, and I enjoyed it. Yeah. She's one of those writers where she tries to be funny at times, and sometimes it feels almost forced, like it's almost too much. And then when she gets into telling the story, she's just such a strong writer that it just carries you through. And because the story starts off with her as being like conceived and an embryo, bouncing around in her mother's stomach and stuff. And yeah, there were times where I found it a little overdone, but I gave it a good solid 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. Then I read Sorry Not Sorry, an unapologetic celebration of Canadian life through story. It's a compilation of short stories put together by Linton Press. And one of my short stories is in there, so I wanted to read it just to see. I didn't rate it on Goodreads. There's some stories in there that I found were a little not not as strong as I would have hoped. But there's some brilliant writing in there as well. There's a few just lovely, delightful stories in there. That make it worthwhile reading. But yeah, there was a couple there that are just a little I wasn't too sure on, so I didn't rate it. Next up was the novel called Here by Heidi Wicks. And that was interesting because it's a story about houses, or about this house, and just different people that have lived in the house over the years, and how it sort of the house is sort of what ties all the stories together. So that was interesting. She's a Newfoundland writer who's published by the same publisher that's putting my book out in March. So I'm always interested to read what other books Breakwater Press is putting out. It was quite good. I did the Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce just because it's been on my bucket list for a long time to do, and I did it by audiobook. I listened to it while I was working on my stained glass. If you don't know, I'm also a stained glass artist, and I'm getting ready for my biggest show of the year that happens the second weekend in September every year. So while I was, cutting glass and wrapping it in foil and soldering, I listened to James Joyce's Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man as one of my selections this month. And yeah, I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 just because I don't know, some of the older texts, it's like I think it would have made a big difference to have read it back in the day, but I wasn't overly keen on it. Then I read another one that's been on my list for a long time, and that was The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. It's a memoir, so she's writing about living with these completely dysfunctional parents and poverty beyond belief. It was, yeah, and her struggle to get out of that cycle. And I couldn't put it down. I just burned through that one. I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days. It was, yeah, it was a great book. I'd highly recommend that one. I gave it a 5 out of 5. And then I read The Salt Box Olive, which is also put out by Breakwater Press, or Breakwater Books, sorry, and that's by Angela Antel. And I had the pleasure of meeting Angela when I was at the Writers at Woody Points Festival 2 years ago, and she's absolutely lovely. So I was just dying to get into her book, and it did not disappoint. It was, yeah, it was great. And then the last one I've done this month since recording last was The Impossible Life by Matt Haig. And that's, he did that book, The Midnight Library. So if you liked The Midnight Library, you would probably like this one. I found The Midnight Library to be just a little bit much. And this one, I liked it. I let myself, suspend belief and fall into the magic realism of it, and really enjoyed it up until the last chapter. And then it is so overwritten at the end that I ended up knocking it all the way down to 3 out of 5 stars, because I don't like it when authors overwrite endings. It's it's like this, they feel the need to just tie everything up with a nice neat little bow at the end, and life isn't like that, and so I don't like it when my novels are like that. There was one other book I did too, which I did on audiobook, and that was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, because that had been on my list for a long time too. I had seen little snippets of the movie with Jack Nicholson before, but I'd never seen the whole movie from start to finish. So I don't know how the book compares exactly to the movie, but I loved it. That was just so well written, and you can just see that nurse, and oh my God. And if you don't know the ending by now, well, I won't spoil it, but when it gets to the ending, it was, yeah, that was a good ending. So I believe that's it for this episode. I wish you happy knitting. I am heading off camping and hoping to get to the Vibrations Yarn Festival in Victoria coming up in August. If you've never been, it's a really fun festival if you're on Vancouver Island. It's great. I will try and capture a little bit of footage and show it to you in my next episode. So in the meantime, happy knitting, take care, be kind to each other, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.